Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Apocalypse Duds. We have here in studio, live ish, someone who defies definition. I don't know how true exactly that is, but he's pretty cool and very innovative. Anyway, Ethan Menswear Wong, we have with us in the Apocalypse Duds studios today again for part
Woo!
two.
Woo! Welcome back, Ethan. Thank you
Thank
for
you. Thank you
yeah.
so much. Thank you.
Took
I
you.
forget. I did forget, and now it'll forever be etched in my brain that the M stands for menswear. I totally
Oh
can't
yes,
forget that that
yes.
was canonized in my first appearance on
I mean,
here.
I think it's pretty fitting. So yeah,
It
you
could be
should you should
like
embrace it.
Michael, and that would suck. Like my middle name, which is Michael, and basically every man or boy has the middle name Michael from the Catholic tradition, anyway. But that's neither here nor there. So we wanted to kind of get into the stuff that has happened both in your life and our life, in
Love it.
everyone's lives since you have been on. Uh, you went to Hawaii.
Yes, I was there. I was with my family, with my mom and my grandparents, my brother and aunt. Weird order for that, but that's how it came in my head. But yeah, that was really great. I haven't had a family vacation in that way. It still requires airplane travel, but not definitely not as extensive as Italy. As some people might remember, I went to Italy last year for my mom's wedding.
Right.
That was a whole thing. Again,
Oh yeah.
all great, but balancing family stuff with the wedding, and then also like, oh, I still want to maybe I want to go check
Got
out
to go
stores. I want to
thrifting.
go to like churches, museums. So
Right. Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Also, like, you're if I'm remembering correctly, you're around LA, right?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
How the fuck long does it take to fly to Italy from there? Just curious.
I think it was. How do I not remember this? It has to be like 11 or 12 hours at least.
Okay, okay, that's
That's what I
not.
would
Yeah,
guess.
that's about what it was from New York City too. So I guess it's kind of like, I don't know, flying over the Atlantic for me and going to Italy. I was just like, holy shit, this takes forever. But I guess you went through the same thing. I thought
Yeah.
maybe it would have been farther though.
We're not on
You know what?
ships
You're right. I
anymore,
remember
though.
it being. I really do remember it being like a 12 or 11 or 12 hours, but I don't remember it being like 18 hours. You know what I mean? Like it
Right, right.
wasn't.
It's not like you're flying to Australia, like which
Yeah,
takes
exactly.
forever.
Yeah. And it's like it took about like 5 hours to get to Hawaii. So, it's kind of, I guess that's good there because I have friends who go to Hawaii from New York and they're like, yeah, it's like a 10 or 11 hour flight because you got to go, through the US and then you go, well, the continental US and then you go to Hawaii. So,
Right, right.
yeah, I
Yeah,
guess we win in that way. I don't
yeah.
know if I call
It's
that
true.
winning.
It's true.
Which is about half again as far from,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's really out there. I guess, like, I'm not trying to quiz you about Hawaii, but I'm like, there's interesting stuff happening in that place, I guess, in terms of the people who live there, and the way that they, I guess are like governed. It's like the United States made that a territory, and it doesn't seem
Yeah.
like there has really been very much in the way of, I don't know, home rule, anything of the sort. Right? They are absorbed into the American country.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really is kind of unsettling when you go there and you see like artifacts on display kind of a thing,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like
and
indigenous artifacts. Like,
well, yeah, like the ruling family, like you'll see like different hotels will have that, and the hope, yeah, maybe I should have looked into it more, but like the hope is that these hotels presumably have some kind of connection. They probably do not. That's probably just a very gratuitous way of thinking about it. What's crazy though is that one of like the biggest tourist attractions is the Dole Plantation, which doesn't exist specifically there anymore. It's like more of just like a historical, like kind of like a it feels like a local museum, right? Like it's kind of like it's like this used to be the place of the Dole plantation. There's like you can get food, which is not all you're not just eating pineapples. Obviously, they have like regular,
They make many fruits.
Hawaiian food and American food over there. They have Dole Whip, and they have like a small plantation you can like take a train ride through. It's like Knott's Berry Farm, but no rides. If you, I mean,
Right.
and so, but it's interesting because it's like this is one of the primary reasons for statehood is because the Dole, John Dole, whatever the guy's name was, being like an American businessman,
That's right.
made so much money over there, and he's like, well, the U.S. government wants that, so we're gonna take this whole thing, So
Straight up
kind of
warring.
weird.
Straight up warring.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. You can look on Wikipedia. There's like Dole Revolt Wikipedias. There's all kinds of stuff, and they really just.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I guess that it's hard not to think of like the indigenous continental Americans who are
Oh
like
yeah.
held up as like great like strong protectors of nature and like all that kind of stuff. No help. Zero
Yeah.
help. Nothing at all. Go elsewhere, you know.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that you're a pretty big fan of like 40s and 50s clothing.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure that you've got a really rad like old Aloha shirt or something in your wardrobe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At
is
least
there
one.
any yeah, at least one. Is there any of that kind of thing like,
Like
left
over there.
these
Oh
days?
no, we lost Matt. Oh, he's back.
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know why I cut out. Is there anything, resembling that type of garments still available, like widely for purchase?
That's a great question. I mean, I was even surprised when I went over there. So one of the big things that I've always enjoyed um, from Hawaii was the brand Two Palms, which I think I found on Style Forum years ago. This is like 2015, like when I was kind of trying to find brands that exist today that kind of give that feeling. And I found them, like like someone had linked them, someone had talked about them. I'm sure, like put this on. Had talked about them, but they are 100% rayon and made in Hawaii. And so I bought some on online long time ago. They now fit MJ because my body does not look like that anymore. But at the local mall at Alamana Mall, they have a Two Palm store, and I was like so surprised. I walk in there, and the great thing about them is that yeah, they have some of the ones that look a little bit more like 90s and 2000s, but a lot of their stuff is still, or they have still have a large selection of 100% rayon, and the prints look actually vintage, which is really great. So
Oh, that's cool.
I bought a couple there, and again, it's like in a regular ass mall that has like a Nordstrom and a Crazy Shirts and a
Right,
Barnes and Noble.
right.
Um, so there was that, and then apparently on it's like the main road that they have that's kind of like Hollywood Boulevard or like the Strip or like all the hotels are. Avanti is over there, and Avanti I've heard of that from other vintage heads,
Yeah.
and because they have a vintage collection, which is the prints all look very very 40s 50s and 60s, but the collars themselves are modeled after like a late 40s or like early 50s camp collar, and they have regular
Oh,
ones too, which is like the more like the short kind that looks more like 60s or I guess 90s or 2000s, but they have a vintage one. And then so like I'm just like walking around, I'm like, oh shit, Avanti, I've heard I have an old Avanti in my closet. And then I was like, oh man, I gotta buy one of these, and I actually bought one in 100% silk, so not rayon, and I do hand wash that, and it's great. I mean, I've did it once, obviously. I haven't an Aloha shirt. It's not an everyday thing,
right.
despite being in California. It's not that you can't wear it. It's just that I have other things I want to wear.
Totally, totally.
Yeah,
That's cool that they're still like keeping it real with that shit, though.
yeah. I mean, I will
So,
say
like,
people
is
aren't
there a
like wearing them.
factory?
There has to be a factory. I mean, at least for Avanti and Two Palms, they're made here. I don't know where the factory is. I remember I briefly talked to, this is a long time ago, for the Two Palms, like in my emails, because like they saw that I like wrote about it, and I like wore them a lot with like vintage and modern stuff, and they were like, oh thanks. And what's funny is that Jason Sandigon, I think, went to the factory
Oh, cool.
of Mad King George. Yeah, he got Two Palms, and then this is like like a couple of years ago, and he went to Hawaii. I think either Oahu or maybe it was Maui or something, and he was able to tour at either one of the big stores there or the actual like one of the factory like workshops that they had, and he said that that was really cool, and I wish I was able to do that, but maybe on
You
the
gotta
return
add that to
journey.
the bucket list.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad again. I'm glad that stuff's still there. I did hear about a vintage store that sold vintage Alohas, and they have everything from like the 30s to like 90s. Stuff with like
Whoa.
Elvis is on them. All these different collaborations. However, I looked at their Instagram, and all of the ones that I thought were good were true vintage, and they were like $500, which is typically if it's in good condition or wearable condition, that's how much vintage 30s to 50s Alohas really
Yeah,
are.
the
It's
rayon ones
crazy.
in particular, like
Yes.
are just through the roof for good reason. They're incredible.
Yeah, because they're
Yeah.
But
sick.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I went to an Aloha print exhibit at the Honolulu Museum, which is
Oh
like their,
shit.
yeah, the little central thing. It's really great. I highly recommend it. It's small. It's in like the metropolitan area, but it has a little bit of everything because it's like one of the major museums in Honolulu, I guess. And so, but they had a Aloha print exhibit, and that was also really cool. They didn't have too many, but seeing like true vintage 40s, 50s ones. There's a couple of stuff from like the 70s and like in the 2000s some designer did like an aloha suit or whatever, so that was really cool to see. It's still very important to the Hawaiian people, and you can all there's obviously the designer ones. There's the ones that I have, like the more vintage ones, and there's the ones you can get at like any drugstore. So it's a little bit of like, it's kind of like how a suit is, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
totally.
so there's different levels of it. But down there people are wearing variations of the aloha shirt, like it's like a part of like the waiter uniform, and not to say like that's the only thing Hawaiian people wear, but like I remember like I had like my uncle is Hawaiian, and he's like, yeah, like it's our dress shirt, like you wear that to like to maybe I don't know about every office, but like it's like your polo shirt. You know what I mean? Like it's a nice shirt. You wear it with slacks. You can wear it with shorts or whatever. I guess it's kind of similar to cowboy boots being like both like casual and rugged and being like a dress shoe in like certain states. So I feel like I think that that's really really cool. Um, and yeah, so I'm glad seeing some of that, and some people you can really tell because like there's like the good ones and you see like the ones that the tourists have, and I hope that the way I wore mine was a bit nicer. Of course no one's wearing like fucking loafers over there, you know what I mean? Like I mean, at least like no one's wearing Alden loafers is what I'm saying.
People give me so much shit for wearing loafers on the beach. What else am I supposed to wear? I've said this on this program before.
Yeah, I guess fisherman sandals, that's kind of like the new go-to, I
I have
feel
some of
like.
those, but it's like those are a recent innovation.
That's true. That's true. No, same here. This is so off topic. I'm just remembering this right now. I remember I went to my aunt who graduated, I think for like a master's in nursing or something like that, at Las Vegas University, and so that was like, oh, I guess family Vegas trip, and we're not gamblers or partiers. We just went there for like the food and I guess shopping, I guess. But and I was like, oh, it's Vegas. I'm gonna wear like a cotton suit and a polo shirt. Prop my collar. This is like 2018. What I neglected was bringing sandals for the pool, and so I did have to wear penny loafers to the pool because that's literally all I had. I mean, I was just gonna, we were all driving up there. Like, I'm not gonna bring. I don't want to bring too much stuff. I'm like, okay, I'll just wear one pair of shoes,
It's a
and loafers
slip-on shoe.
was
I don't see
exactly.
what the issue is. It's a slip-on
Yeah, same
shoe.
here.
If it
Same
had
here.
laces, it would be problematic. It would be too
Yeah,
involved.
exactly. I see that's the thing. I think I did bring sneakers. I'm like, well, I know I'm smart enough not to bring sneakers to the pool because they will. Like, who wants to lace up and do all of that when your feet are wet? At the very least, a loafer, throw in. I guess you would throw in like a newspaper or a paper towel because I didn't bring the shoehorns with me. But yeah, like that's so funny. Yes, I'm pro. Well, within reason, I'd wear fisherman sandals to the beach. Now that I have them, I will wear that instead of a loafer. At least I'm having a little bit more airflow. You know what I mean?
I think I've had one pair of flip-flops in my entire life, my like conscious life anyway.
Oh yeah.
And it's senior week in Ocean City, Maryland, which is really a wild place. I purchased these flip-flops that had Al Pacino on
Hmm.
them, and they said
Okay.
Scarface. this was not sanctioned gear. But I thought it
I
was
that's
funny
that's
enough.
amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to them, but they're out there somewhere, I'm sure.
That is so funny.
And people gave me shit
Yeah,
about those
Scarface
too.
on flip flops. It's
Yeah,
so
right. It's
funny.
like immortalized on like a piece of foam.
Not just Scarface, bootleg
That's
Scarface
true.
Yeah,
That's right.
flip-flops.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. It's, I mean, when you see something like that, because it sort of goes back to the earlier discussion, right? Like,
Hmm.
there's a level of craft to some
Yeah,
stuff that is obvious, right? Could you have a pair of Scarface licensed Scarface flip flops, slides even? I don't know.
that's true. I feel like, yeah, it's a sliding scale of of
Ah,
taste, maybe. I don't know.
wow, wow.
I
Uh,
try.
so I have a joke for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. So what would you call your program if it was a conservative talk show?
Oh my God. Okay. What would it be?
Denial and projection. Ha 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 ha.
Ah, there you
See,
go.
see, perfect. There are others, but I don't think we're going to get into them just yet. Anyway,
Okay.
I want to ask you, there's one man more than any who makes me think Hawaii, and that's Dog the Bounty Hunter. Did you see Dog? Did you? I don't know. I mean, do they have that playing on
Is there a Dog the Bounty Hunter museum somewhere?
That
the
should
Dog
that's
Pound?
absolutely. If I did not, if I didn't know that, I feel like I would have totally gone and made time to go see that if that existed.
The
Like
Dog the
that
Bounty Hunter
is
Museum.
that is yeah, that's right. Yeah, Dwayne Chapman. I forgot that's his real name. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, so did I.
Well,
Jesus.
because
That
he
is
has
so
that
funny.
like hokey kind of. It's like 12-step based intervention attitude, which I just find bizarre. And I mean, the whole aesthetic is another matter. But what I remember from that show, basically,
Yeah.
is that Hawaii is a place with crushing poverty, and
Yeah.
so there exists a criminal, element. And I just think, like, what the fuck? I mean, they're I assume are not tons of jobs for like people who are native to Hawaii. Like, what's the I don't know, tour like, you
Yeah.
don't want to work in tourism, if tourism is like 98% of the economy, then what do you do?
I mean, there's also the fact too that a lot of like immigrants to Hawaii are also in the tourism industry, right? Like there's so many Filipino
Sure.
people who work at these
It's like a race to the
hotels,
bottom.
and so yeah, I mean, it's sad to say, or it seems like, yeah, as I'm reflecting on this now, it's like at least in Oahu and these major places, like that's probably what drives so much of the commerce there and the jobs, Um, yeah, it seems unfortunate. I had the same experience, all right, talking to someone who was in Venice. I think like a tour guide in Venice, and he was like, yeah, I mean, he doesn't live obviously in Venice. He lives like on the mainland part of it. Some of the other, no really tour guides live like right there. And most people have either moved away, so like, some of the houses are vacant in Venice, which makes it even creepier at nighttime.
Jesus, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar, and they keep saying like during COVID, like it was like empty, like over there, and plus, Italy has a lot of old people as well, so it's kind of even scarier too.
And well, and these are areas of great natural beauty, right? And it is like
Yeah,
a total tragedy of the commons. It's like the
yeah,
more people that go there, I guess, sort of the more poverty stricken the area is. Bizarrely, I don't know. I just think, like, what a complicated world.
yeah, absolutely.
We wanted to talk about Marco.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
Marco.pants. Yeah, because I feel like you guys have hung out before. You know better than me, I'm sure. But what a cool guy. What a cool cat, like
yeah, yeah. No, Marco,
motorcycle
Marco
rider.
is. Yeah, he's so great. I mean, I knew him before he started doing that, or like right when he started picking that up. Yeah, me and Marco have been friends for, I mean, online friends since like yeah, 2015 or 2016 or so. Because he's been posting on Reddit, and so did I, and so we're both Filipino. We both have this kind of like kindred spirit of like being into, you know, ideas of classic and vintage menswear. When I think about Marco, and when I interviewed him, I kind of mentioned this, where like when you really look at it, like nothing he's wearing is that crazy. There are crazy stuff, and if you're a trad guy, obviously, but like for example, his like capital double rider made of like fleece, like that's crazy for sure. But like that's not like it's not like something that's like totally reinventing the concept of the wheel. It's like if you did a wheel in a material that wasn't stone or wood or something, you know. And I think that's what me and Marco kind of like got like kindred spirit on. Like for me, I kind of went more into like the actual tradition and classical menswear, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do like, he wears like vintage stuff. He mixes that into like secondhand designer stuff that he has. Like obviously that's why he loves like engineered garments and Capital, which are two brands that kind of riff on the idea of like Americana or like menswear utilitarian milsurp workwear, but like they're gonna do it in like pants and waxed cotton, or they're gonna do a like or yeah like a fleece a fleece double rider. And I've always admired that about Marco and the way he can just wear stuff out. Again, similar to me. Like we're both relatively like corporate ish guys who both work in like marketing or advertising in a sense, and so but he wears that stuff. He might get a little bit more of a pass because he is like I think he's like data science or something like that. So like you're not client facing, whereas I kind of am. But I guess it works out. Where
Do you this I don't
yeah
like do you go to client meetings? Like is that your like daily thing? You're going to talk to people all the day? Cuz I don't know. I mean, I thought you were kind of a creative. Like I didn't
yeah
know like what, right? Like are you taking pictures? I don't know, but I figured that checked out for me.
Yeah, no, that's a funny thing to note. Yeah, I've only really done creative stuff for work as like freelance in a freelance capacity. Like, like I've done like some photography, as you guys have known, for like for just for friends. Like usually it's never anyone that was just strictly business. Or I've done some copywriting for some men's, brands, and like some like, like email stuff or like some captions, but that was very, very brief. My main job has always been either like before that like social media management, which kind of is brings those things together, but lately it's just been like account management, which is just managing client conversation or client communications, as well as the campaign itself. And these campaigns don't usually require anything creative from me, but to that point I am client facing in the sense of like I am handling that conversation along with this. Like the seller will pass it to me after that, after the contract's been signed. Basically it's like, okay, now here's Ethan who will manage this for us. And in that way, I occasionally will go to a client dinner, but that's not really like a schmooze thing. I mean, maybe I should take it more seriously. But I always see it as more of like it's more of like a celebratory kind of a thing, and I think there is a little bit of like upselling involved, but thankfully, like I'm not a seller. I'm just working on it. So like the seller will kind of like, you know, when the drinks are flowing, they'll be like, "Oh, so how's your Q4 budgets? Any room for us?" Kind of a thing. And I can just be there. You know what I mean? I'm
That's
definitely I'm
fucking
like the
You're a
wingman.
wingman. You're
Yeah,
a wingman.
which is great because I mean, I'm sure my coworker if my coworkers listen to this, like I am not a seller. I can upsell to an extent of like it just feels natural. Like I just like talking about good things. I'm
You're
not
not
even
like a
selling. I'm just saying,
scumbag. Yeah, you're not lying,
yeah, I can't.
manipulating, coercing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't do it. Yeah, yeah, and
and that's
so
good. That's
and
why you're not a piece of shit. I mean, that's like very good.
yeah, I refuse. I've never felt, if we want to expand this conversation a little bit, I've never really been good or comfortable with selling. Like even in
Oh,
like,
same, same.
yeah, this is why like
That
I
is,
mean I
you
like.
know this program.
It's just so funny because I've worked kind of very briefly in menswear, but like I've been in stores, like not working there, but like when someone is there, like a customer, I can naturally talk about clothing, but it's like usually at that point, if they're in this specialty menswear store, this vintage store, they're already kind of into it. You know what I mean? If they're asking
Right,
questions,
right.
and if I just talk about it, they're usually gonna get into it. But like I would hate to like have my whole thing be based on that. And shout out to all the vintage sellers out there, all of the boutique menswear owners who have to like do that and like really go into it. But I feel like, and this is just my biased experience, more often than not, the people who are walking into that store are usually ready to buy something, or at least are more like intrigued. Like there's not, you still have to sell to them, but it doesn't feel like you're not like converting, you're not evangelizing,
It's not a
the
cold call.
idea of wearing a suit. You
Right,
know.
right. I've done a lot of retail, both like as a vintage seller, obviously, and
Hmm.
like previously working for like high end, menswear stores, and um, one of them in particular was sales based. Like they still had
Mm,
a commission system,
yeah.
and I was terrible at it. Like because I'm kind of just, and I approach the vintage stuff the same way. Like I'm not trying to sell you on something. If you want to chat about it, like I'll talk about shit all day long because
Yeah.
I love clothing. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, you're either going to buy it or you're not, and I'm not going to try to like use car salesman you for a fucking piece of cloth.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's like, because I mean, at my core, I want you to want this, right? That is
Yeah,
the best.
totally,
That's the best
totally.
thing, like I like that's the best. Like I think I mentioned this either in in my podcast and many others, where like like I'm able to do this and hang out with my friends because no one feels the pressure to dress like me. If they want to, they can. But like I truly I don't believe that because we're going to a nice cocktail place they have to wear a sport coat or a tie.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
it's cool if they do, but like it's totally fine. And at these bars, like no one cares. You know what I mean? Like I mean, I've also never been to a place that has a dress code, so like that's also one reason why maybe I'm a little bit biased. But like generally speaking, like the way that I see most people connect with literally anything. It doesn't have to be clothes, could be video games, could be music, whatever. It's like they have to really want to be a part of it to like to get that experience. It's the same thing with me where I I think I said this before, like I listen to film music, I listen to orchestra music a lot. I don't listen to a lot of I guess regular or non-orchestral music, but I do have some music because I found it on my own. But when someone goes like, "Oh, you haven't heard this artist?" Well, here's like the three albums you got to do. I'm like, "Oh, it feels like homework, man. Like I can't
Yeah,
Right.
I
Right.
just I can't do
sure.
it." You know?
Yeah, that's
I
funny because I remember asking you a while ago, "Do you
Yeah.
like so and so or something?" You were like,
Who is that?
"Right, yeah," because I figured you would be like, encyclopedic, you know?
No, it is. It's so funny that that happens because, like, even at trivia, like I said, like I'm so bad. Like I'll feel like, oh, I've heard the song before, but I literally have no idea what it's called. That could also be because I've heard people experience music like the singing is like an instrument, and so like I'm hearing the melody and not the words, and so like I can't put those two things together. I don't know, my weird brain. But even that, like I think my brother was talking about jazz. My brother, like he likes kind of like diva music and like Motown and stuff like that, and he was surprised also like when he was starting to get into like the 40s stuff and he was like like listening to some like song by like Ella Fitzgerald. I was like, oh, okay, like I mean I know who that is and I could answer a question, a trivia thing based on her life or whatever. But if you say, oh, that song, I'm like, I don't know, I can't place it. It's crazy. I'm weird.
Uh, I mean, we all have those little quirks as to how our brain works. One of mine regarding music is not being able to tune out whatever is playing. Like if I'm in a store, like it shocking,
Absolutely.
shocking. I hate it so much because I'm like, I really don't want to pay attention to this, but I can't not.
Yeah,
I like
what's funny
singing.
is that when what's funny is that when I'll start singing along or like I'll mash it. I'll start mashing the song up in a store or whatever to something else, and no one will know what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, like I'm riffing off of this. And you're like, oh, there's a song playing. I'm like, yes, there's a song playing. Like, come on, like, oh my god,
Oh my gosh,
it's
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's so funny. But like,
It
yeah, I
can
can't not do it.
it can be auditory hell, but at least it sounds like you try to make it fun. So
I can't help but have fun. You know what I mean? Like that's
yeah,
my whole
totally.
that's my whole thing.
Speaking of
Well,
fun,
so
you posted recently about doing karaoke.
Oh yes. Oh my
So
god. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I have done karaoke in LA, a few places with
Yeah.
our friend Ava from Epaulets over the years.
Awesome.
What's your go to karaoke jams, man? I got to know this.
Oh, I mean, the one I did recently, it's got to be "Waving Through a Window" from Dear Evan Hansen. I'm a big, I don't say I'm like a big Broadway fan. Like I don't listen to like every Broadway show, but like that's what I love singing because I figured this out like through the course of like a college and everything, where like I like singing. I like I not that I don't like crooners, but like my voice isn't that, and I need something like melodic that a song goes through dynamic changes, but also like fits like my voice, you know. And so that's not really pop. And I'm like, oh well, I guess like Broadway music, like there's a whole like the song really develops and it takes a lot from your voice. It's very intense, or it can be soft. And I'm like, oh, so like naturally, whenever I sing, it's always like Broadway or like Disney stuff. But there's occasionally like Sam Smith, like stuff that's kind of close in that way, you know. Chapel Rowan's also great to do, but like yeah, waving through a window is a big one.
Wait. Hold on. Sorry, it's Rowan, not Roan, because I was talking about this to someone
Oh my
yesterday.
god, am I doing it wrong? Is that really
No,
what it is?
I have no fucking idea. I
I
know
think it's
everything about
Roan.
this.
I think it's Roan. I've heard Roan. I don't know though.
Yeah, I don't either, and I this is not my lane as far as music goes. So like everything I know about this person, I've just seen from like a distance. But fuck, you just yeah, is it
She's
Rowan or
cool.
Rowan?
She's
Yeah,
I
cool.
she seems rad, but like this is the first time that I've ever actually heard someone say the name.
I think Chapel is her grandfather's name or something.
That's cool.
I think it's Roan. I actually chaper like oh like chaperone.
That's where she got.
Ah,
That's where she
Is
got the
is
name.
that
okay. Yeah, because
Wow.
it's got to be like a put on pseudonym, if you will.
yeah? I mean,
A stage
but I
name
think
or
maybe
whatever.
that's a pun someone found out like later. Chapel, yeah, Chapel
We
Roan.
gotta
Okay, it's
ask
Roan.
about
Okay,
the
okay, all right.
chaperone Roan
Mystery
connection.
solved.
Ethan, I gotta say, you put an
That is really
impressive
fun.
amount of
Yeah,
thought into basically everything that you do. And basically,
it's a
since
curse.
I do not do that, or maybe actually Matt would probably say
Yeah.
that I do that too much. And so
Yes. Yeah.
when you say that your whole mission is fun, what do you mean by that? I
Yeah.
mean, how do you go about that? Because it seems like a lot of people that I know have not fun lives.
Obviously, I will say I'm very blessed to have, first off, a job that lets me have a certain amount of freedom. I get to work from home. I get to, go to well, there are days I get to go to a coffee shop, and there's also, as my Discord and Sound Direction knows, there are days when I miss the window for the appropriate amount of time in a coffee shop, but that's very rare. But the fact that I can do that is, it's kind of an indication where like I try and have my life focus on the things that I want to do, the things that are fun, the things that bring me enjoyment, that bring community in the form of like friendships and family, etc.
So don't
And
argue
I
with
mean,
strangers on the internet all day.
yeah, I try to have to be past that part of my life, or at least to have that be as minimal, have a minimal effect on my life as much as possible. It's funny how most of those things that happened when I'm just at home by myself versus when I'm actually out with friends. So maybe that's a good indication of
Oh, I
the
wasn't
difference
talking
there.
about you. I was saying I know someone who spends an inordinate amount of time arguing with strangers on the internet about basically anything.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe he's got to go touch grass. You know what I mean? That's kind of the whole thing too,
Mm.
right? It's like I'll say that that's a big part of it. And touching grass obviously is a very vague thing. Like I spend a lot of time at home as much as I spend outside, and I feel like when I'm at home, I am watching movies with friends on Discord. I'm playing video games with friends. I'm trying to have as tangible a connection as possible. Or I mean, it's also I also like to watch movies by myself. Don't get me wrong; I don't have to always be with someone. I'm not a codependent person. But like all of that, I mean, I think that's what life is like
Unlike
about.
me.
Life is about life is about like having fun. I don't mean it in like a hedonistic way, but like life doesn't always have to be about work, for example. And again, I'm saying that as a very thankfully so far in my career I haven't had to like post about my job. I try and keep it as vague as possible on whenever people ask me about it. I have my coworkers as mutuals on my Instagram and social media accounts, so it's not like they don't know what I'm up to, but like I just don't want that to be because like that's not how I define myself. You know what I mean? Like
Right. Right.
I'm not gonna say like Ethan Wong account manager. I'm like, oh, Ethan Wong. I wear clothes for fun, and I now I'm like posting more of my singing because finally have well, first off, I go to karaoke more often now, which is great.
Oh hell yeah, you should.
And
You should.
so yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the support. But also like just like yeah, posting it out there because it's also, to go back to like to be on this conversation. Like I would also kind of don't want my whole thing to be menswear either. Although that is really hard because I wear cool clothes, no matter what I'm doing. So it's kind
Yeah.
of hard.
How do
But
you separate
yeah.
them?
How do I
Like
separate? Yeah.
so for your I guess in LA and other large cities, like your social media profile is more or less an extension of your CV.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, I'm sure people check you out and glean a lot.
Yeah. I
So I don't
mean,
know. How do you keep it separate? Do you bother?
it's funny. Like I feel like I take it personally every time like there's like some like article that's very critical about social media because if it's being critical about something that I think I also kind of do. Like there was recently a one and I kind of talked about it on in our in my Discord where it was like about like Instagram story post like dump posting like the whole and they increased it from 10 to 20. And I was like, yes, finally. Like I
Yeah,
don't have to
great.
like I have more space for stuff. And and it is true that like social media or like these like Instagram platforms, like they because it's a new feature, they will promote those, or they'll have that show up more to people so you get more engagement, etc. And so, of course, a lot of influencers are savvy to this now, so like they feel this pressure to like have a really good dump, no pun intended, kind of. um but also like there's also this other article a while back that I also referenced where it's like the Instagram dump needed to have this kind of like vibe to it, right? It had to be chaotic but not too chaotic. It's got to show certain things, there's a little bit of like irony involved in that whole thing. And I'm someone who documents a lot of things. I try not to take like, like 20 pictures of one thing for the perfect one to find later. It's more so I'm just taking like 20 photos of everything because I just love it so much, and everything is so funny to me. Everything is so silly. Everything is so wholesome, whether it's friends laughing is a funny sign or whatever. um and so like to me, I always love dumping like all this like stuff from the past week because I also feel like that stuff isn't really worth just one photo, you know what I mean? Like and so like those dumps kind of make sense. And if people are friends with me on Facebook, like my family, like they know that my I have Facebook albums every year and it's called Everyday Silliness. And so like what's funny is that like at the end of the year, this album has like thousands of entries because I post every day on this thing. And it's fun to like look back at the year and see what's up there, and so um, but yeah, I mean, keeping it separate. I mean, I feel like at some point, I realized like I was having so many fit pics, and while that's true of me, like I mean, I love documenting my outfits. It's like I'm sharing a cookie I baked or this like Gundam model or a Lego that I had just completed or something like that. Like I also want more than just that as well, and so like that's where like posting like photos, like photography I've done of other people, and then I was like, oh, there's also like things that I'm doing with friends, photos, of us hanging out. There's also like other stuff I want to take photos of and I was singing. And so like it's not like keeping it separate. It's more just like
Yeah.
making sure that my Instagram like reflects who I am. And it's just like naturally there, as people who have known me as being like a menswear guy or posting fit pics, like they might see like, oh, there's a more of a distinction or like a shift. But like that's kind of like what I always wanted it to be. Because if you think about it, like Instagram, I always use it as like an extension of Tumblr. My Tumblr was very menswear, went from being chaotic to being menswear focused because I like super got into it. And so like Instagram was like all menswear, and then now I'm like, oh, it actually should be like Facebook, where like it's just literally like what I'm up to, except it's public. My Facebook is private for obvious reasons because like all my family stuff on there, but like it's like Instagram, like what, like people can also like you see this. And the to bring it back to menswear, the hope is that people can see this and be like, oh well, Ethan's wearing a suit to karaoke, or Ethan's wearing a tie to go get coffee, and here's a selfie with like a fucking vanilla latte or whatever. Like, but anyone can do this, you know what I'm saying? and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and I know that everyone can, and I'm not saying I'm special for it, but I know that I have friends, like real life friends, who are like, oh, I don't believe, or I can't see myself doing that. And I'm like, well, here you go. Here's like, me getting a croissant or getting a boba, and I'm wearing a bow tie. Like it's not a big deal. And also being open to do that. It's not
You're
posturing.
normalizing.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm very normal. Um, but yeah, that's such an important part to me. Just I guess maybe because I always grew up self conscious, and like I always thought maybe if I just had some kind of evidence, right? Like I wish there was like a me that
That's
wasn't
so
me,
fucking funny.
but it's like as I grew up, I was like, there is no person that I, at least in my orbit or whatever, that I can see. So why don't I be that person to my friends,
Dude, that's so
And so
good. That's like your first self-help book. That's great. Truly.
yeah.
I was going to say one observation about the 20
Hmm.
picture carousel is like that's the first pro photo thing that Instagram has done that I can remember,
Absolutely.
right?
Right,
Like
right.
in years and years and
Yeah,
years.
I was going to commend you, Ethan, because I'm sure that you've done reels before, but like I'm not a videographer. Like I can turn some bullshit into a reel easily, but like I'm not going to put time into doing it. But I'm like I like Instagram because it is photo based, and people
Yeah.
that still post photos consistently like are my favorites.
No, absolutely. I mean, I try not to post like the typical reels. You know what I mean? Like when it's like the whole "get ready with me" shit.
Right, right, yeah, yeah.
Well,
Which
yeah,
no shade to those people.
No,
Like
right.
shade
do your
precisely.
thing.
Like, listen, the only person whose chest I want to see is LDP's stuff with the silenced pistol on the chest. I mean, that's fucking tight. But everyone else, it's like why are you I'm interested in your clothing that you wear.
Right, right. Yeah. I don't need a
That's the funny.
video, but show me a few pictures and I'm good.
Yeah, I mean that's why I got onto TikTok because like I put my videos on that more because like that is a platform literally made for video, and so
Right.
I would,
And
yeah.
as a 40-year-old, anything that I would want to see on TikTok, I'm going to see someone repost on Instagram Explorer eventually. So, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it is so interesting to see like, because all of these people, they want to be like YouTube. You know what I mean? Like that's like
Right.
my hot take, in the sense of like or I guess they want to be an all-in-one platform, and they want to take market share away from YouTube. But that is basically what the impetus is for that. And also from the influencer side of things, like people like they like there's more sponsorships to be had in videos. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
It's
Right.
so
just about advertising, right?
Yeah.
There's
yeah,
no
that is
other
literally what it is.
purpose.
Yeah,
They
like
want more ad like time. They want
yeah.
more ad space,
I
basically.
Connor and I have talked about this amongst ourselves like
Hmm.
in infinitely, but the social media is in what I will give it. And like I'm not one of these old man shouts at the sky people. But what I will give it is like giving people like us a chance to connect with other weirdos that are into the same shit that we are.
Yeah,
And it's like,
Yeah, because none of
I
us would
understand.
have met, right?
Right, right. Like, it's cool. We can connect, and we've all been on this for years or decades, in various ways. But like, we can connect with people that share a similar interest in a way that like we could not in the 80s and 90s or any time prior. But
yeah,
like,
AIM, baby. I want the first person that makes like an AIM clone.
I feel like with the
I'll be
nostalgia
in the
train,
market.
maybe an AIM clone is coming. I don't know, but yeah, like it's still really cool that like you in particular kind of use and like enjoy social media from that type of aspect, even though they're just trying to sell us things.
yeah. I mean, again, it comes down to I hate selling, and so like I
Yeah,
don't want to participate, right? Like
yeah,
that's the whole thing.
right,
Like, I mean, it's so funny because like yeah, if you like look at I feel like I'm shadow banned on TikTok, by the way. Like I feel like I have, for some reason, I have like 17,000 followers, um, but
Wow.
it tells you how many views it gets. And I'm getting like 300 to 500 views. Like that's like what, like 5% of your following. Like I'm like,
right,
yo, something. TikTok is like not showing my stuff to other people, but thankfully it doesn't matter because like I'm not making money off of it.
right, right,
But like, and it's the same. It's like the same. Yeah, 300 people each time because the commenters are all the same. And they're not bots, which is nice. That they're actually the people who see it the most. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of like in that. I mean, I'm also like, yeah, I'm not allowed to participate even in like the whole selling aspect because it's just not going anywhere. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'm just gonna keep
right,
posting a dumb video. Even today, I don't know when this is coming out, but there is this filter that's going viral about like it's with perfect pitch, and so it's like do re mi fa sol la ti do, and like you hum it, and like the like if you hit the pitch correctly, it'll like your little ball will go through the right hole. And so it's like if you're not on pitch, you it won't go. And you have to like really hit like the right frequencies, I guess, for it.
You think
And I'm
you could
like,
do a dough right now?
well, it depends where you're starting, right? It's like, oh, I don't have perfect pitch. That's the thing. I don't have perfect pitch.
Yeah, yeah.
I
But
got the relative pitch.
I
Yeah.
figured it out. I figured out relative. I guess I have relative pitch, but like I figured out where the starting point was, and I just went through it, which was really great. But what's funny is that at the last part, I ran out of breath, and so it's just really funny. And
Wow,
like
you
that's
loser.
I know.
You
I
suck.
that's my thing. I don't have really good breath capacity, which is
So we
funny.
Ah,
found your one
Oh,
weakness.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right.
It's
Yeah.
the lung capacity.
it, it,
God.
if anyone ever like if a evil villain ever kidnaps you, they need to know that you have to like sing a note in for a certain amount of time
Then it's all
before
over.
they will off you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before the bomb explodes around my neck.
Right. That'd be a great plot to a fucking Batman film, I tell
Yeah, I'll be the dead guy in that one because it's gonna happen.
you.
Well, we kind of brought you here today. Um, I don't know. We kind of want to talk about the menswear scene, about the menswear community, and like
Mm-hmm.
what you think is going on. I mean, this goes a little bit to our earlier conversation about ad revenue.
Yeah,
So like people's motives and what the fuck is going on? Like it just seems weird. It seems like a
yeah.
lot of the
I
fun
mean,
has been taken away.
that is so true. Yeah, you were referencing the article that I wrote, yeah, about
Mhm.
like social media as like your
Great
as your.
writer, by the way. I mean,
Thank you,
really
thank
a good
you.
writer.
Yeah, I mean, shout out Madeline Schulz who wrote that original article. Like Instagram is social media is your resume, but not everyone in fashion wants to be an influencer. I saw that post by someone else, and it's a Vogue business article. I don't know how someone shared it to me. I don't know how they were able to do that. Like it must be like a free article kind of a thing. I'm not a subscriber, so I can't do that. But I read it. I'm like, this has so many of the thoughts that I've been having. Um, about social media, and if you're in the Sound Direction Discord, you know that this is like something that I am very interested in discussing. As someone who, as you guys say, like I enjoy social media, it makes me very sensitive to seeing how people use it, and to like kind of, and again, working in marketing and advertising, for most of my adult life, it's just kind of like I can see all the best practices and everything there, so it's really hard not to notice how things have had a little bit of a vibe shift. But yeah, I mean, I've had those thoughts for a while, and it wasn't until that article by Madeline Scholes that I was like, maybe I should like write a little response, or like I actually have more of like I guess empirical data because like they
Right. So your
Madeline
little response is like,
yeah,
yeah, dude, come
because
on.
at the very least, like Madeline did interview people, and like there were real responses and quotes to pull from. Like so it was a little bit like, oh, I'm clearly not the only one feeling this way, and this has been shown in not just like the menswear, the artisanal boutique menswear scene, but also like in the regular general fashion world. And to summarize that article, it's kind of like, yeah, to be relevant, maybe it might be my bias, but like to be employable in that space, you have to, like a social media presence, let alone one with a following, a some kind of audience, is almost like mandatory. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and like that was to me, I was like, I've been trying to say like it's, and I feel like that's something that's been kind of like softly understood in fashion, right? It's about who you know, obviously, but also like as fashion is in conversation with literally with culture, and it's arts, but it's also commerce. Like the validation you get from social media, this kind of like vetting process of like having a following, is like a way to kind of prove your worth, whether it's like, oh, people like your designs, people like your taste, people like your takes. And I could see how maybe in like the in the 90s or in the 2000s, where social media wasn't really a thing, or a thing at all, you hire someone, and then then you're on probation for a little bit, and you have to see if they can bring their skills to the table. But here now it's like you're getting that right off the bat. You won't even get the interview unless you have some kind of sense early on. And that's the same thing people have been saying about other gig based jobs, right? Music, big example, right? Like if you're a musician, if you have, some kind of like, if you're having your practice sessions or some kind of, or your compositional skills on your, not just your YouTube now, but like now your TikTok and Instagram, like that's like a leg up. Same thing with acting, right? Like people are more, studios are more inclined to hire people, actors with an audience than someone who doesn't. And they might not say that it's based on acting skill, but at the very least, it's saving on marketing dollars, right? It's just, there's something to do there. And so with fashion, it's not really gig based, but it's almost being treated as such, and it's, I can see the appeal. Like there's this person I follow, she's got really great style, but she works at like Harper's Bazaar. And I'm wondering, like, I mean, I didn't follow her for that long, but like, what did she have that following beforehand? Did that help her get there? But now that she's there, she's obviously drawing a lot of eyes. It's the Harper Bazaar office. It's like, oh, here's my outfits for the week, and it's really cool. Like her, I mean, to be able to work in fashion and wear cool fits, like that's such a great bonus. But of course, you get all the other stuff in there too, right? Like the behind the scenes of like photo shoots that they're doing or being invited to parties. And while that's all cool, I'm sure maybe it's projecting, but like there is this need to like keep up with that in order to like maintain her job, or to have like an example, a CV, if she wants to go elsewhere. And she's bringing not only her artistic and creative skills in presenting that content, but also the audience that's been with her.
Yeah.
And
And the only
yeah,
way to get a raise is to get a new job. Probably
yeah,
with a
right.
different
That's the whole
employer.
thing.
So you
Yeah,
do have to jump all the time. So it's very messy. And
yeah,
it's like in fashion, almost every single person who works in clothing would rather do nothing
yeah,
more.
yeah,
They would do it. They would sleep on the floor. They don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter. No benefits. I don't care. Pay me $10 an hour.
yeah.
Uh, and they know that too.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
So you're really in a rock and a hard place. I mean, this goes back to the Hawaii thing. Like with all of the immigrants coming to Hawaii, the
yeah.
powers that be just pay them less, right? And so the indigenous people of Hawaii can't even get a fucking job.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely like the appeal there of being an influencer while you're working in fashion is I can see it. Like it I try not to make it too much of a knock on like the system that we operate on, and it's cool, like, to see these benefits that normally would have been for just the general influencers, right? To see like people who work in fashion get like a Delta partnership and get like a free flight, and yeah, it's maybe some cases that they cover the publication covers the flight, but if I'm being gracious, they might not that might not be the case across every fashion job, obviously. um and so that could also be an indication that influencer marketing has diversified into like micro influencers or just like key opinion leaders that are not necessarily just based on follower count, which is, in a general speaking, good. You're not just, because like I feel like they want to see the money go somewhere. But that of course, as people who are in niche industries or niche interests, you're gonna start seeing those same influencer stuff that you would normally see on like a travel vlogger now be seen at your menswear guy or something like that.
Right. Right.
And for me personally, it's a little bit jarring. But I to not to knock it, like for them, it might be like maybe some of the only ways you can get those kinds of fun perks or whatever. And but the thing is, to go back to being cynical, it's like, but those are also parts of your CV, because that's technically a job that you're being paid to do. And I know for a fact, after working in this, brands or clients will look and see, has this person done a brand deal before? Because they're not gonna, if they're being gracious, they might give it to someone who hasn't. Just, okay, we'll just, tank the free clothes, we'll tank
Well,
we'll absorb the
fucking
costs. But
nightmare.
it's better if they, if there's, oh, this guy actually did it, and it's so professional, the content is good, and if there's like some kind of conversion or like a discount code, we know that they were able to do that and making it feel authentic. And so like it's like it's like a, I guess, a positive feedback loop if you do it well enough. And so social media becomes that place of, again, not just like the whole your cultural CV of like, oh, here's where I was, here's this example of me being at these places with the important people, but now it's like, oh, it's also, I'm really good at selling things. And so like you have both of that in a place where, again, for me, was just about scrolling and seeing like what my friend was up to. And so and having friends who were in menswear where like, even before, I mean, I don't want to say rose colored glasses, but like I feel like before, the guys who worked in menswear that I would follow, like it was kind of like what it was now for me, where like they were doing their regular life, and maybe you'd see like a fit pic at their job, at their job, but like that was kind of it. You know what I mean? Like it was still like they were just like a sales guy, and like you're following them because you met them at a store, or like you're a mutual. But then now it's like, oh no, this is like a menswear account. You know what I mean? Like there's like it's all in that way. It looks more like what a traditional influencer's account would look like, or whatever the current version is now, which kind of combines all these like parties and PR and everything. Um, which
Well, it's
again
like,
to me
do you
is different.
follow? Do you follow anybody that's in politics in California? Probably not.
No, not really.
Well, so what you might notice if you did follow them is basically they go to parties. They go to
Mm,
gala, they go to a fundraiser, but that's what's up. And that's what the upper class does is they go to fundraisers for poor people
yeah,
and do what afterward? We don't know.
they say like what how like, oh, thanks for having me at this whatever PAC
I
foundation
can't
thing. It is.
believe people live like this.
Yeah, yeah, that
The,
is, yeah,
the whole
totally.
idea of like influencer and micro influencer and all of this stuff is just so completely like asinine to me. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm glad that normal ass people are getting their bag, which I'm sure some of these people like are just like normal folks, whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, just the whole concept is just so like uh, I guess it's been wild to see the shift from like 90s and early 2000s like pre social media type of advertising or marketing or whatever to present day.
yeah. I mean, I somehow feel like I don't have any like thunder or whatever behind this, but it's like kind of like as social media shifts to becoming about like like your life, which take in a positive way. I feel like it really it becomes more of like a projection thing, and that's not like nothing really that new.
Right.
um but it's yeah, it's like similar to how like people will have like a music Instagram, like a musician might have a personal one and they might have one for just their music, but like they have to combine the two now because people want to hire under the guise of authenticity, be it real or not. It's like they want to make sure that the person they're hiring is technically good, but also a person,
Right.
which
Right.
is
Well, and
again
don't you
technically
think it's
good, but you're
about reducing the number of jobs as well? I mean, combining jobs. Every creative knows this, right? You used to be able to be a designer or a photographer, and now you have to be both.
yes, yeah. I mean, because what they're hiring is taste, and so if you are able to show your taste through multidisciplinary activities, then you are a better hire. You know what I mean? Like it's just, and
Oh, I
so
get it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's
Like
bad
it's
for us.
yeah. No, totally unfortunate. Like there's no way. Like I mean, I did it, freelance because I was decent at writing and I like taking photos. But now, like with like video and everything in there and graphic design, like there's just like I couldn't even continue doing that. Like part time or whatever. Like it's just way too much stuff. Because it's not that I couldn't do it. It's just that other people will do it and they already are hustling it and they're gonna get the job. You know.
And if it's too much for you, then we are really fucked.
Yeah. Seriously.
I mean, yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, social media should be fun, but
Well,
I feel
dude,
like,
get to a position where you can be like the social media czar because you've got the right idea. It should be fun. It
yeah,
should be about
no
people.
more sponsored posts.
Well, I
No,
want
none
to
of
talk
that.
about very quickly the feed,
Yeah,
the Instagram feed. And now I'm
yeah,
getting like 3 and 4 times maybe the first post in my feed is an ad, like
yeah,
right at the top. And then it's like ad content, maybe, and then sponsored post. So it's like, what am I even fucking doing on this if I'm only being shown things to buy?
yeah. What kind of ads are you getting, by the way? If
That's a
they're too
great
crazy, don't
question.
tell me.
No, I mean, I don't. I get a lot of Ozempic ads, which I
Oh,
like
okay.
because I think that we should advertise for all medication, and it should only be the choice of the person who is prescribed to, whether they take it or not. There
Yeah,
should be no doctor involved,
yeah.
and you should get it in the mail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I should like really record. Oh, I just got a Ralph's Groceries ad.
The Saba dealer, the Bolo, these are weird.
Oh, Saba, isn't Saba shoes?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm not even saying they're shitty ads. I don't want to see them. I'm saying they're ads. I don't want to see them.
Yeah. 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 That's
I
interesting.
I have less gall for the ads than I do like every 30 days when I've snoozed suggested posts.
Mm-hmm.
Like that drives me up a wall.
The auto playing video
Like
too.
yeah, the auto playing video sucks. I usually keep my phone on silent, so
Me
it doesn't
too.
like yeah. But at least like the autoplay, I don't hear it if I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the like you follow this person, are you interested in this? And I'm like, I use Instagram Explorer for that. Like you already have an Explorer feature. I don't need a
The
suggested
suggestion.
post.
Yeah. That's so interesting because my hot thing is I don't use my explore page at all. Like I
Neither do
Yeah,
don't.
when I'm bored as shit, I'm a night owl. Like I've always been a night owl. Like
Mhm.
most days I stay up until at least 2. Um, but like when I'm bored and just like kind of chilling out, hanging, like I like Explorer because I get shown funny animal stuff.
For a
See,
little
You
while,
know,
it was all asses, and I'm not
yeah.
looking at
Oh
porn
yes. And
on
then
Instagram.
sometimes I will get the most random, like that. Like maybe it's because I clicked on one video, and so now 2 days
That's how
ago,
they
and
get you.
so now I'm getting all this stuff. But it'll be like people fishing, and I'm like, I'm not a fisherman. Maybe I clicked on a person on a boat because it was a funny alligator story from Florida, but like. I don't need to see someone casting a reel and sitting still for 3 minutes.
Hi,
yeah.
my name is Matt Smith, and I have a funny alligator story from Florida to relay.
Florida is not a real place, by the way. But like, the suggested shit bothers me way more than the ads because the ads, I'm just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
It's the same.
I mean, it is the same. I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
it's
like
the same
between the
technology.
two, I will take the ads any day of the week.
Yeah. I should pay attention to my ads more. I feel like my Instagram never knows what I'm into. You know what I mean? So it's
That's
like,
a positive.
yeah, I feel like it's funny because I feel like I don't want to say that I defy it for some reason. But it's like, yes, the ads to me are like they're so random, I guess,
Oh
or
yeah.
they're very like localized. So it's like it's so easy for me to like just like to say like fuck it, you know what I mean? Like and maybe that's why I pay attention more to like when regular people are posting sponsored content because like it's I'm following you, but I don't want to see an ad, and like I'm
Right.
getting an ad, right? And that's kind of like because like again, looking at my explore page right now, hey, I'm such a good, tell the ladies I'm so good because there's no girls on this at all. It's all animals and menswear. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm not gonna get canceled or I'm not gonna get called out. I should say
Yeah.
for my
Yeah.
explore page. But like, even now, like, the Ralph's grocery thing is the first ad I get. It's after the first post. But even now, I'm looking at my Instagram right now as we're talking, and the first post is a guy's local volleyball team, like a guy I know, and like see like that. That's what I'm talking about. Like that's what I want to see. I
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to see
Totally.
regular
Yeah.
life stuff, and then of course after that it's a bunch of guys doing fit pics, but they're all regular guys too. I would say, relatively
Right.
speaking.
Yeah, the first thing
Um,
I got just now is an Allstate insurance ad.
Yeah, I have a T-Mobile ad, which
Yeah. Then
get the
yeah.
fuck out of
it's
here.
two things. One by Ken Stylebender, that is a friend of the show.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Shout out, Ken.
Yeah, and then a couple of other like people that actually follow his posts.
Yeah, so it's like I mean I always
It's
wonder.
also weird because
Yeah.
it's never the same.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like it's non-chronological, right? And but also like yeah, the ads can all be. Oh, I just got the Saba thing. Hey, are they listening? Ah,
Well, they
Jesus
uh,
Christ.
are, and
yeah,
like people will say, "Oh no, your phone isn't listening," but of course it
Right.
is.
Yeah, the first thing on my Instagram Explore page is a post from the Hard Times, which I'm all about.
oh yeah, that's a good one.
And then the
I
third
just
one,
love T-Mobile as a brand, and so anytime I see that pink border, I'm like, yes.
maybe we can use this as an experiment to see the amount of things we mentioned,
I think
uh,
their CEO is so
Oh,
dreamy.
and see what our ads look like the next couple of days.
I'm still so happy that I've never bought anything from a social media ad.
Yeah,
Me neither.
I I can't
same.
say the same thing for my parents. They're like, I mean, the kind of
Well,
like, I guess they're not millennials, they're Gen Xers, I guess, but like it's like they're like the prime audience for that. You know what I
I,
mean? Like they're like,
My
oh
mom just
cool.
likes to buy shit. Like if she
so
could buy from Sky Mall, she would.
I just had a thought.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the connection between social media ads and those like random ass commercials that you used to see back in the day where it's like, hey, we've got this thing, dial 1-800 blah blah blah. Like it's kind of the same shit. It's just a
Well,
Matt,
different generation.
I don't even know what that means. I
Like
don't
the
know if I've ever seen one of those. I don't know.
no, like the television ads where it'll be like
But what are they advertising?
like a
like
QVC thing.
not really QVC, but like the one that comes to mind was just like musical compilations that were
Uh,
like the hits of the 70s, and
Oh,
they
like
had
Chia Pet stuff. I feel like kind of counts
yeah,
there.
Chia Pet stuff, yeah, definitely
Yeah,
like
you
those
know.
made for TV ads that we all grew up seeing.
so like an infomercial.
Yeah, like infomercials, like the social media ads are kind of like the next generation of infomercial in a lot of ways.
Well, that's so funny you say this because that is actually the trope that it's invoking. Like I remember reading from some or another podcast said it where they were saying how like TikTok live shop, right? Like the whole thing of like, like you could scroll and people will like sell
Yeah, I was
things
gonna
live
say,
to you
what does that mean?
yeah, it's like a QVC style thing. It works like everywhere except the US for some reason.
Oh
And
God,
it's like in like
we're
Japan.
protected by the law in this country.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of just like, I mean, it's just people are so skeptical, I think, or it's just so different, or it's
Yeah, I'm
associated.
being facetious. Of course it's because
Yeah,
everyone else has. Yeah.
yeah, but what I think what's funny is that they see it work with like obviously the older people on social media, but that's not a giant population. What is interesting though is that that style of commercial has now shifted into the content on TikTok, and I guess if you guys aren't on TikTok, you want to see this a lot. But like it'll start out it'll be very it's almost like the 2020s version of it, where like a guy will like. How it'll be like weird editing or like a very like a screaming guy like like Billy Mays or whatever, and say and have some kind of like problem, and he'll be like, oh wait, I got this thing to like that fixes this whole thing, like, oh, it could be like cleaning your grill, like literally be like an infomercial. It could be that, it could be like,
Don't you
oh,
hate when you are cleaning your toilet and you get poop all over your body?
yeah, or like I've been getting a lot lately because maybe I have been talking about this where like as for context, I do a lot of like commentary stuff on TikTok as well, like the blog because I can't help myself but talk. But I don't like I live it gets kind of hot in here. My computer is in here. It gets really really hot, so I have to have the air conditioning on. But whenever I record those things, I gotta turn that off because otherwise you'll hear it. And it's like I kept getting ads about like wireless like Bluetooth microphones for your smartphone, and it's one thing to have like if you're scrolling on Instagram and seeing like an ad pop up for it, but it's another thing to have the TikToks of like do you hate when your videos sound like this? And it's like a guy like scream or it's really loud like, oh, watch this, and he'll like hook something up and he'll walk like back into a room and then do it, and I'm like, that's literally an infomercial. Like, and it's like they noticed that the TikTok live shop thing was not working in the United States, and so they've the creators, these US creators who know that they can make commission off of selling this stuff because TikToks can link directly to something on the TikTok shop, which is kind of like an Alibaba or Amazon type of thing. Um, you can link directly to it, and so like people are just finding ways to find this random ass stuff that they could whatever they can sell from the TikTok shop, and then make some kind of like weird video about it that has the same thing with TikTok, where like it has like jumpy editing, it's very attention grabbing, and it's so cheap that you can't help but buy it. And that's like the totally like the biggest thing. And I'm seeing that not just with like CPG stuff. It could be like fucking like candles. It could be like all the clothes on TikTok shop are like really dumb. I don't like. I guess the 2020s version of like a Target like Coke T-shirt. It's like
Sweet.
quirk like or I guess
Like
like
Dr.
more like
Pepper.
or like a Spencer's gift kind of like
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Hot
yeah.
Topic where they have like
Oh
a
yeah.
funny thing on it. Like that's been like really good on there.
Orange
And of course
Crush.
I'm sure they're selling it to like teenagers or whatever. But it's really weird to
Percent.
see like that because it might be I again, this stuff is not based on any real studies, but just something that I've seen in my experience working in this. But like, as if we're seeing advertising dollars, like or shift or attention shift from like a whole video that's sponsored, it's easier just to crank out videos that just are connected to something on the TikTok shop, and you made some like dumb story about it, and the TikTok shop has everything, like just like Amazon. Like the people can make a whole account about like phone tech stuff. Like a lot of, like some of the easy stuff to sell are those like $20 microphones that you can just buy, and they're relatively good. Like I mean, at least compared from the in the course of the video, maybe it's working
Yeah.
on me, right? Or it could be like like screen protectors or like cute cases that have like a duck on the back. Like it's so like these like dumb
Whatever
stuff.
it is, it's made out of plastic, and it will never leave the earth.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do they have some partnership with Timu where they're like, just
I
pumping
wonder.
this
It's got
shit
to be like
out?
I wonder if that's like their fulfillment center or something there. You know what I
Because
mean?
I was like trying to buy a weed vaporizer, like a cannabis cartridge vaporizer, because the one that
Yeah,
I have is like proprietary and very annoying.
yeah,
Anyway, so I found that there basically aren't. I don't know. It's like we have less and less certainty over what we're buying. Like everything looked the same, but it was clearly different.
yeah.
And that is bizarre. And that is definitely a new thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, that is, to bring it back to what we were talking about, it's kind of like how menswear is kind of like the saving grace in that regard, where it doesn't feel like the products that menswear creates is not like that. But then we're still seeing the same kind of like selling practices. Or I guess it's a little bit cooler. I guess it's sneakier.
Yep.
It's under the guise of being, like I said in my article, like a Slim
Limited
Aaron's
run.
photo set, right? Like it's you want to be invited to these parties, you want to get this free stuff, and and maybe at the end of the day, it's like these people know that it's about like awareness or whatever. Like that's the whole thing. Like, because they know that they're not gonna like Drake's is not gonna convert random people on Instagram. They're not gonna get it through the e-commerce.
Paid buys or
But like,
whatever.
you're gonna get into it by like thinking the brand is cool, and then it'll be aspirational. Again, that's nothing really new. It's just for me invading a space that was more or less wholesome, or at the very least I wasn't a part of any like really big YouTubing group or whatever that that I would see only like sponsored videos or whatever from. Like I was still like following random ass people. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
not.
It's a Trojan horse, right? I mean, it's like a way that they I don't know, get us to do things that we're not really on board with.
Yeah. I
Yes.
hope that I'm like I want to think I'm an individual. I want to think I have agency, but maybe
Yo,
someday.
you are. You're
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
Anyone looking up fucking nerdy menswear content on the internet
Yeah.
has agency, and we're people that
Yeah.
like a certain
We're
thing.
Ethan Wong fans on the podcast.
Yeah.
I
I
We're
was
love
going
it.
to say one final thing. Of course, the reason that our podcast does not have millions upon millions of listens is the word apocalypse in the title. So we've been shadow banned since day one.
probably.
That's a really good. That's probably what happened. Actually, you know
Hey,
what I mean? Like,
listen,
yeah,
we're good at this kind of stuff.
yeah. You should have like misspelled it somehow. That way, it wouldn't trigger
Yeah,
anything.
we should have used a Z instead of an S, and
God damn
Yeah,
really
it.
brought
yeah,
it back to the 90s.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, next time.
next time.
yeah. Next time,
Yeah,
yeah. You'll
but
have to start a new podcast and then just upload the same episodes and then see if the new name, like the slightly different name or the spelling, I guess,
We're
see if
A/B
that
split testing
affects.
this motherfucker.
yeah,
Absolutely, talk about
yeah.
marketing. This is where it's
Yeah.
at. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
we're
thank you,
all
man.
yeah, dude. Thank you. This has been
Oh, of
fun.
course. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
always happy to come on here.
I feel
It's
like
it's
you
been a
should
great
really
time.
get paid to talk. I mean, so you giving us your time yet again for free. I mean, we're gonna make ad revenue off of this. So thank you.
Yeah. All of our $0 that are coming
Yep.
in ad revenue.
No,
And the
I love
Arby's
it.
sponsorship is a go. So we're gonna be eating roast beef nonstop. Even Matt.
I will not be eating roast beef.
I'll make
and-
you some like brown slices of I don't know something that approximates roast beef but isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
that sounds yummy.
Tofurkey.
tofurkey's solid. Yeah.
There you
The
go.
strips, the slices or
See,
sandwich
there you go.
slices.
I wouldn't give
Yeah.
you the lump,
Wait, what?
the Thanksgiving tofurkey. Which
Oh
is
yeah.
just
No, not about that life.
a large organ shaped lump.
there's way better vegan products.
Oh yes,
Anyway,
certainly by now.
Ethan, dude, thank you one more time. And please shout out whatever you would like.
Oh yeah, I mean, follow if you guys want more Ethan, you guys can go listen to Style and Direction. With me, Spencer, and MJ, we talk about stuff. It could be random. Whatever menswear stuff tickles our fancy. There's my blog, A Little Bit of Rest, which is more of my personal thoughts. But if you just want to follow me on Instagram and or TikTok, it's Ethan M Wong, and you can see whatever the hell I happen to be up to. And believe you me, you'll see it because I post about whatever it is
And you'll be like,
almost all the
God
time.
damn it, why does this person have so much fun?
Everyone can. Karaoke is great. Everyone should do karaoke.
Everyone should do karaoke.
Well, it's like
Everyone-
you watch the movies, you annotate the movies. How do you have time to do it all? We talked about this. Listen
That's
to the
right.
first
I
episode.
don't. I stay up until like 3 o'clock in the morning. I have like what do they call it? Reverse productivity, kind of, where it's like I after working I write or I read and then whatever I go and then it's midnight. Cool. Now it's vegetation time. So now I just end up sitting in my bed watching TikTok or watching some sitcom until 3 o'clock because I need actual non-productive time. And so thankfully so far I can operate off of 5 hours of sleep, like 3 to 8 o'clock. You wake up at 8 o'clock and jump into work or whatever it is. So
Wait till you turn-
until I can't, then I'm
Yeah.
still doing it.
I guess we'll see. Maybe this podcast will be around for part 3.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I love it.
Totally
Just
will.
let me know, guys. I'm always down.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks one more time.
Really a pleasure. I mean,
Yeah, very much a pleasure.
Yeah,
Everyone, thank you for listening. Follow us on Instagram at Apocalypse Studs. Shoot us an email if you so desire, apocalypsestuds@gmail.com. I am Matt Smith at Rebels Rogues.
and I'm Connor Flower at Connor Flower on Instagram.
And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.